In November 1558, the coronation of Elizabeth I took place in the Kingdom of England. Beside her was a court advisor, known as a wizard. His name was John Dee. John Dee was a figure called the greatest intellectual of his time, holding various titles including mathematician, alchemist, and astrologer. One day, John Dee revealed a shocking fact, namely that he could understand the conversations of angels, messengers of God, and had recorded them. I have read and studied many books in various places and languages over many years, and have discussed and deliberated, seeking to draw closer to truth. But the conclusion I reached in the end was that by human methods, one cannot approach truth. John Dee had studied numerous academic disciplines, but the deeper he delved, the more he felt he was moving away from what he truly sought. He considered approaching truth to be the ultimate goal of academic pursuit. After immersing himself in vast amounts of knowledge, what he felt was that truth could not be attained with the level of knowledge humans possessed. Ultimately, Dee turned his attention towards directions beyond human reach, towards alchemy, which could not be explained by the scientific or mathematical theories he had learned. In 1582, John Dee met Edward Kelley, who was famous as a scryer and alchemist by chance. Edward Kelley was a figure who claimed to possess the Philosopher's Stone, often called the dream of alchemists. The Philosopher's Stone was said to be a medium that could turn base metals into gold, and a substance that could lead to the understanding of truth. Kelley told Dee a surprising story. It was that he could communicate with angels and spirits. He said he could see angels and spirits reflected through his magical tool, a crystal ball. Dee believed that Kelley was someone who could lead him to truth, and the two began researching together. They researched and recorded about angels for a period of 7 years from 1582 to 1589. Kelley could converse with angels through the crystal ball he possessed, but Dee said he could only sense them spiritually. Kelley explained that the crystal ball he held acted like a bridge connecting the celestial and terrestrial realms. Kelley called the rituals for summoning angels and the process of communication spiritual conferences. They conducted these spiritual conferences for 7 years and recorded the contents of all the meetings in documents. According to the records, the angels appeared in various forms. Sometimes they appeared as young girls, or as farmers, old maids, or a blonde woman, and occasionally they appeared as creatures different from humans, with extremely tall statures. They claimed to have conversed even with archangels like Gabriel, Raphael, Michael, and Oriel, and recorded that the method followed the angels' instructions. They stated that communication was conducted by pointing to and tapping on wooden tablets where their language's characters were written. John Dee compiled the records of his 7 years of research, creating a book named Liber Logaeth. Dee defined the angels' language as angelical or Enochian. He believed this could be the fundamental first dictionary for communicating with angels. The Enochian characters left by Dee were written within the squares of densely gridded manuscript paper and had a total of 96 different forms. When Liber Logaeth was presented to the world, scholars and the public showed great interest in it. This was because being able to learn the language of heaven was akin to gaining a direct channel of communication with the God they worshipped. However, except for Dee and Kelley, there was no one who could interpret or read it. This was because the Enochian script was not similar to the language of any country in the world, making it impossible to know how to read or write it. Consequently, people's interest gradually began to turn into suspicion. Since Elizabeth I fully supported John Dee's Enochian studies, overt condemnation was avoided, but criticism grew stronger and scholars raised questions about Edward Kelley's background. This was because Kelley's activities before meeting John Dee were almost non-existent, and what little remained was also unclear. Some said he was a student named Talbot, others that he worked as a notary public in London, or was an apprentice apothecary, or someone connected to Rudolph II, the Holy Roman Emperor. However, when Queen Elizabeth died and James I ascended the throne, all patronage provided to John Dee was stopped. This was because James I did not have a positive view of astrology. Thus, the angelic language Enochian, shrouded in suspicion and mystery, faded into history. The Liber Logaeth, said to contain angelic revelations and language, cannot be found in its original form today. Only a few pages of manuscripts inferred from his writings can be examined. After Dee's death, efforts to interpret the meaning of Enochian continued for hundreds of years. The research and investigation continued steadily through the Middle Ages into the modern and contemporary eras. In 1978, Australian linguist Donald Laycock published a book titled The Complete Enochian Dictionary based on his analysis and research. He discovered that the Enochian script had a definite grammatical structure similar to that of normal language forms, and even demonstrated by constructing sentences. In 2007, Dr. Martin Puvel at the University of Nottingham also published a 155-page research paper based on the Enochian script, proving that it was not a meaningless jumble of words, but a script with a clear linguistic system. However, since the original no longer exists, and the remaining materials are also very limited, further research was restricted. Ultimately, Enochian remained an undeciphered language like the Voynich Manuscript or the Rohonc Codex. What truly is the truth of Enochian, the angelic language claimed by John Dee and Edward Kelley? Did they truly discover a way to communicate with angels or celestial beings? This has been the Repository of Wonders.